done. So there's certain things we're not going to be able to talk about. And if we get that question, we're just going to say, we can't discuss that. But I can tell you why, we just say we can't discuss it. And there's a reason for it. The format will be, and you have this list in your packet, there will be 4 speakers from law enforcement, and then somebody from the Indian Cultural Center wants to speak for a moment or two, and then we'll take questions and answers. Is everybody good with that?
Yeah, thanks, Joe.
Okay.
Thank you and welcome for attending today. I'm Patrick Thornton, Chief of Investigation at the Burlington County Prosecutor's Office. On May 23rd, 2017, at approximately 9 p.m., the Maple Shade Police Department responded to Hamilton Road, Maple Shade, New Jersey, for a report of 2 subjects deceased inside the apartment. The victims were identified as Sasi Nara, 38 years old, and her son, Anish Nara, 6 years old. Both victims had multiple stab wounds, slice wounds, and defensive wounds, indicating that these victims fought back. These innocent victims were defenseless during this horrific attack. The veteran officers and detectives who worked this case described the scene as the most brutal they have ever experienced in their careers. All are still impacted today as a result of their involvement in this case. During this investigation, blood evidence was discovered at the scene, and it was submitted to New Jersey State Police Laboratory for analysis. The examination of one of the blood samples collected revealed it did not belong to the victims. It did not belong to Benu Dhavan, who was the father and the husband of the victims. It was also a resident of that apartment. This blood evidence was crucial in identifying our suspect in this case. After 8 years of continued and diligent investigative efforts by the Burlington County Prosecutor's Office, the Maple Shade Police Department, the FBI, and the New Jersey State Police, I am proud and happy today to announce that we have identified and charged our suspect, Dussehra. At the time of this double homicide, he was an Indian national working in the United States on a work visa. He was employed by Cognizant Technology Solutions out of Teaneck, New Jersey. In September of 2017, Dussehra fled the United States and returned to India, where he remains today. I'd like to welcome up to the stage and the podium Lieutenant Brian Cunningham. He's one of many detectives in this case who has continued to move this case forward. He's going to fill in the blocks, discuss some of the timeline and the investigative efforts that were made during this case to bring it to this point today. Lieutenant Brian Cunningham, if you would please step up. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Thornton. Good afternoon. My name is Brian Cunningham, and I'm a lieutenant assigned to the Major Crimes Unit of the Burlington County Prosecutor's Office. I'm also currently the lead investigator in the Nara homicides. I'd like to go over this afternoon some facts which led us to today, as well as the efforts put forth by our office and our law enforcement partners to navigate the challenges when investigating a suspect who is in another country. But before I do that, I want to applaud the effort put into this case by the investigative team. Multiple agencies and investigators worked tirelessly for years to ensure someone would be held accountable for these heinous murders. This was a prime example of resilient police work in the pursuit of justice. Our investigation began on March 23rd, 2017, when Benu Dhavan arrived home to the unimaginable. Located inside of his apartment were the bodies of his wife and 6-year-old son. Both victims had been brutally stabbed to death. In processing the crime scene, multiple bloodstain samples were collected by detectives. In analyzing the blood, one droplet collected did not belong to either victim or Benu Dhavan. Given these circumstances, detectives believed this droplet belonged to the suspect. This investigation saw countless interviews conducted, financial records thoroughly examined, reviews of rideshare application records, cell phone records, and advanced methods used by law enforcement to review geolocation data to seek out digital footprints. As a result of these investigative efforts, we learned Hanu Nara was, at times, being followed by Nazir Hamid for a significant amount of time prior to the murders. Unfortunately, by the time Nazir Hamid was believed to be a person of interest, we also had learned he relocated back to India approximately 6 months after the homicides in September of 2017. Who is Nazir Hamid? He is an Indian national who worked at the same company as Hanu Nara, Cognizant Technology Solutions. He was 29 years old when he committed the homicides. Nazir Hamid lived within walking distance of the Nara family and did not drive while in the United States. Investigators learned he had a strong background in technology and went to great lengths to conceal and hide his criminal activity. With the suspect identified, the blood droplet collected was sent to Parabon Nanolabs with assistance from the Federal Bureau of Investigation. The blood type was found to be the same blood type as Nazir Hamid. Additionally, from a genealogical standpoint, belonged to an Indian male with no relation to the victims. With this information, the hunt for Nazir Hamid's DNA began. We worked with our federal partners and authorities in India to approach Nazir Hamid to ask if he would consent to a DNA sample. Nazir Hamid declined that request. For over a year, we worked with the Department of Justice to examine other crimes to charge Nazir Hamid with in an effort to extradite him back to the United States and obtain a DNA sample. Unfortunately, nothing reached the level to bring him back to this country other than criminal homicide. In 2023, we filed a mutual legal assistance request to the Indian government seeking Nazir Hamid's DNA be obtained by court order. This request has been received by the Indian government, but to this day, they have not completed it. With mounting legal challenges due to the suspect being overseas, alternative investigative strategies were discussed. In 2024, our office confirmed that Nazir Hamid was still employed by Cognizant and working in Chennai, India. Additionally, investigators learned Nazir Hamid was assigned a company laptop. Legal process was served to Cognizant for the laptop exclusively assigned to Nazir Hamid. Cognizant complied with the court order and shipped the laptop internationally to New Jersey, where it was immediately delivered to the New Jersey State Police DNA laboratory. Investigators sought and were granted an additional court order to forensically process the laptop for a DNA sample. Ultimately, a DNA contributor was able to be obtained from the laptop, which matched the DNA from the unknown blood droplet from the crime scene. Again, this result would not be possible without the efforts of past and present investigators who have worked this case since March of 2017. While it is important to highlight charges, our work continues every day until Nazir Hamid is brought back to the United States and convicted for these horrible crimes. Thank you.
Chief Chris Fletcher from the Maple Shade Police Department. Chief.
As Chief Thornton said, my name is Christopher Fletcher. I'm the Chief of the Maple Shade Police Department. These senseless murders took place in our town, and they shook our community to the core. The scene that day was unimaginable, and it affected our agency unlike any other crime in recent memory. Those who responded saw the carnage of a mother and her young child who spent their final moments fighting for their lives. This investigation has been conducted in full force from the day it began. It was mischaracterized by some as being stalled and stagnant, but that was not true. The case never went cold. New leads were developed throughout the investigation, and all of them were run down, which has led us here today to announce these charges. Let me be very clear. Our commitment to bringing justice for Shiskala and Anish Naran never wavered. 2 photos hang in our detective bureau, one of Shiskala and Anish together, and one of Anish at school. Those images reminded the investigators each and every day that they carried the responsibility of solving this terrible crime. I want to personally thank the prosecutor's office for their close partnership with our department. Their support and determination has been vital in bringing this case to its conclusion. Finally, I want to thank you, our media partners, for being here today. Your coverage can help ensure this case receives the attention that it deserves, and to also encourage our federal partners to help take the next step towards justice. Shishkala and Anish deserve nothing less. Thank you.
The podium will be Prosecutor Lucia Bradshaw. Prosecutor.
Thank you, Chief, and thank you for everyone coming today. First and foremost, there were many agencies who have worked very diligently on this investigation since its inception in 2017. I'd like to give my sincere thanks and gratitude to agencies and individuals who put in their hard work and dedication over the years, starting with Maple Shade Police Department, obviously, our Chief, Christopher Fletcher, who you just heard from, Detective Sergeant Scott Wallace, who is also behind me, who was among the first, one of the first to respond on that fateful day. I'd like to thank former and current Burlington County Prosecutor's Office investigative staff, some of whom are here with us today. Thank you very much for coming. Particularly, I'd like to thank Lieutenant Brian Cunningham, who you've heard from today as well. Lieutenant Cunningham was under the supervision of my chief, Chief Patrick J. Thornton, and Brian's relentless work on this case played a pivotal role in acquiring the DNA that brought us here today to where we are. So many thanks to Lieutenant Brian Cunningham. I'd also like to thank Assistant Prosecutor Robert Van Gilst, who is not on the podium here with us, but he spent countless hours, early mornings, late nights, giving legal advice to our investigative team, and Assistant Prosecutor Bob Van Gilst will be initially assigned to prosecute this case moving forward. He is the supervisor of our major crimes unit. I'd be remiss if I didn't also thank our federal partners who spent many countless hours in our conference room at the Burlington County Prosecutor's Office, as well as on Teams meetings, and I have to thank them for their support and cooperation as we encountered many obstacles in this course of this investigation up until this day. Obviously, we are in this beautiful facility today, so I would like to give very special thanks to our partners at ICC, the Indian Cultural Center, who we have partnered with and participated in events with them. They are our community partners, and we want to thank them as well for also lending this beautiful facility to us today for this press conference. So thank you to the Board of Trustees at ICC and to Jay Parikh, who is here with us today, and for, again, allowing us to be here today. Aside from the thank yous and acknowledgements, my role here today as prosecutor is twofold. First, to send a very clear message, and second, to send out a call for action, a request, a call to action. This office will not rest until justice is served for the victims, the family, and for this community. A brutal murder was committed on Burlington County soil in 2017, and the suspect wanted for this heinous crime has managed to evade justice for years. Nazir Hamid has managed to evade justice for years, and he must be held accountable. So to that end, we call upon the United States government and the government of India to take swift and decisive action to ensure that this individual is extradited without delay to face the charges that await him here. The passage of time does not diminish the gravity of these crimes, nor does it lessen our resolve. No border, no distance, and no delay should stand in the way of justice. The people of Burlington County deserve closure. And these now silenced victims, one a mother and one a mere child of 6 years of age who was nearly decapitated, deserve their day in court. They deserve their voices to be heard through a rigorous prosecution. So we urge full cooperation between our nations to demonstrate that those who commit violent crimes cannot flee accountability by crossing oceans. So our message is clear. We did not forget, we did not forgive, and we will not stop pursuing those who take innocent lives in this county. Justice must and will prevail. Thank you.
In this case. Just to close out real quick, I'm going to bring our community partner, Jay Parikh from ICC, say a few words on behalf of our office and
the Burlington County Prosecutor's Office, the Maple State Police Department, New Jersey State Police, FBI, and all other law enforcement agencies involved in the investigation of this 2017 homicide case. In 2017, the Burlington County Prosecutor's Office reached out to representative of the Indian Cultural Center seeking the community's assistance in solving this case. At that time, they assured us that they would continue to pursue every lead and make every effort to ensure the safety of the Indian community in South Jersey. Since then, they have worked diligently with the Maple State Police Department and the FBI and the New Jersey State Police to bring resolution to this case. We are deeply grateful to everyone involved for their dedication and perseverance over the past 8 years, despite the many challenges and setbacks and courage along the way. Thank you.
All right, as our PIO had mentioned prior to starting, we still obviously do not have a motive in this investigation. It is an ongoing investigation, but we're definitely going to entertain questions today from the press. Anybody would like to start? Sir?
Could Detective Cunningham address the fact that the scene was horrific? You have the mother of the child, and yet the investigators found one after the other. What does that say about the investigators or the approach that you take to this sort of thing? That there wasn't a spotlight on it saying, look over here.
What I mean by one droplet discovered that was significant to investigators is that, yes, the scene was extremely bloody, and during the investigations of crime scenes, multiple swabs of different blood stains are collected. In analyzing all the numerous blood stains that were collected, one jumped out as significant because it did not appear to be the victim's blood, and it did not appear to be the blood of Hananara or anyone of relation to the victims. This was an unknown blood droplet from an unknown contributor, which made us believe that this blood droplet possibly belonged to the person who committed these crimes.
You say that the suspect followed the victims for quite some time. Can you describe that in a little bit more detail? Was it physically following them and monitoring them? What did that entail?
It was physically following them.
Jumping off of that, how would you describe the suspect's relationship with the victims and the victim's husband and father prior to this? Were they friendly? Did they just happen to work for the same company? Did they have any interactions?
Factually, what we can say is that they did work with the same company, and based on the circumstances, obviously there was a personal sort of vendetta against Hananara. But what we can confirm is that they worked at the same company together. That is by far the relationship that we can sew together.
It was characterized up here that he fled later that year. Is that the correct characterization of that? He fled, or did he just leave the U.S. and go back to India?
We're confident that he left the United States in order to avoid being found out in this investigation.
Looking at the timeline here, and obviously this is not a comprehensive timeline, I realize this, but can you address there are some large gaps in here, specifically the October 2020 when Hamid refused to provide a DNA sample, and then in 2023, in March, it's when it was specifically requested via court order. Can you explain, it was 2.5 years between those two events. Can you talk about why the large time gaps in between the significant events in this case?
Sure. One of the things that we worked with the Department of Justice, as mentioned earlier, is examining were there any other crimes that could be charged to Nazir Hamid based on the circumstances that we had that would bring him back to the United States. Once he was in the United States, we would then have valid legal process to serve to obtain a sample of his DNA. Unfortunately, through years of working with the Department of Justice and trying to find anything that would bring him back to the United States, the only crime that would bring him back to U.S. soil and be extradited on was criminal homicide. So there was a period of time that we tried to extradite him through other means that unfortunately were unable to be happened, which is why finding the DNA, which brought us over to charge for homicide, was so important. But that is what the gap in investigative work. It was working with our partners at the DOJ to examine, is there anything else legally that we can compel him back to the United States?
There was talk earlier about urging the two governments to work together. It sounds as if you know where this person is located. generally speaking, what is preventing his extradition at this point?
I would refer comments like that to the Department of Justice, and we can give that contact information at the conclusion of the press conference. But there is a treaty which exists between our two countries about extradition process, but the process itself is cumbersome, and there are challenges with it. But again, I would refer you to the Department of Justice, who'd be willing to walk you through that process.
Detective, he was initially a person of interest early on. Did you ever have a chance to question this gentleman, you detectives?
We did not.
Any concern that he might flee in India? That he may not wait for you?
We are considering all possible options at this point.
You mentioned he had a background in technology, and he went through great lengths to avoid and evade justice at this point. Can you kind of speak more to that? Are there specific things that he did with his phone, laptop, like what exactly? You mentioned the background, so I'm just curious as to what that meant.
Sure, just in general, different ways to conceal his movements in terms of following the victims, as well as his movement that day of the murders to conceal that he was there.
When did he come to the United States, and how long was he working at the same company?
He had come to the United States a few years prior to the homicides,
And what about how long was he working for Cognizant?
several years beforehand. I don't know the exact year off the top of my head, but he had been working for Cognizant for some time prior to the murders.
So is there any timeline when he'll be brought to US, or,
I can't give a timeline right now.
but he will be brought to US?
We're working with our partners with the Department of Justice, and we're confident we'll be able to get him back to the United States.
Is he still working in Cognizant?
He has been terminated.
Yes, but
Any resistance from Indian government authorities?
I'm sorry?
Any resistance from Indian government authorities?
No, in fact,
Being cooperative?
in fact, given the legal challenges in terms of what we are legally allowed to compel someone to do overseas, we cannot compel someone through permission of the Indian government. We did send that mutual legal assistance request several years ago, which we are continuously following up on, but the Indian government did work with our law enforcement partners and their law enforcement partners in India to approach him to see if he would consent to a DNA sample. I do also think it's worth mentioning that several dozen individuals, either via consent or a court order, did have their DNA tested against this unknown blood droplet, and he is someone who declined to provide a DNA sample.
Has his DNA shown up in any other investigations that you've had in the area?
No.
where is he located in India right now?
He was employed in Chennai, India, at a Cognizant facility.
Okay. But he has been terminated. Did he move out of Chennai or is he still in Chennai?
We are aware of some of the his personal information, but we wouldn't want to comment that in a public forum at this time.
So what was his previous record? Did he have any criminal record in the past, or this was the only crime he did?
Not to our knowledge, this was the only one.
Any other questions at this time?
Is it a concern at all at this point if he's aware of this charge that he could flee? I know there was a question kind of related to that, but is he aware of the situation, and does that compel your office to act in other ways in order to prevent him from trying to flee in some other way?
We understand that during the termination process at Cognizant, he was made aware of charges in the United States. I'm not sure to what degree he's aware of the charges, as far as specific charges. Based on human nature, we will assume he's starting to 1 + 1 figure out what's going on at this point in time. And we'll be prepared if he does decide to flee India.
If his blood was confirmed to match the droplet at the scene almost a year ago, why have this now? What's the significance of the timing of announcing this now?
Well, we've been continuing this investigation, again, as Lieutenant Cunningham had mentioned, making attempts to get a confirmed DNA sample from him and try to have him extradited back to the United States on other charges. At this point in time, the biggest purpose of us being here today is to get this out to the public, to make them aware of who this individual is. And as the prosecutor had mentioned, we want to bring him back to the United States to face justice for the horrific crimes that he has committed. And that's why we're here today.
Have you been in touch with the family, the surviving family, and what have their thoughts been about this, or what's their status at this point?
Yes, we've been in touch with the victim's family, and we also have spoken to Hanu. Obviously, everyone is very shaken up by this news, but they look forward to continuing to work with us and assist us in any way possible.
Any motivation, any motivation being traced, like what is motivated for paying?
There are a number of investigative theories, but nothing more than something I'd be speculating to up today. What we can do is provide the facts, and the facts is that he was following Hanu Nara for some sort of time and committed these homicides. But in terms of investigative theories on motivation, we're still working every day to solidify any theories we may have.
And did Hanu share any kind of suspicion, any kind of reasoning that you can think of?
I don't want to get into the specifics of Hanu's statement, but he was cooperative with law enforcement.
One more thing I want to put out.
Do you know if he ever met the mother and the son? Or was he just following the husband?
As of right now, we have no facts to support that he had met with them personally at any point.
Was he a was the husband a boss or a supervisor? What type of role was he in compared to?
Just coworkers.
They were just coworkers.
Correct.
Was there any sign of anyone breaking in? Did they allow them inside? Or we didn't really get into that? I
It's
know you
unknown at
mentioned
that time.
Okay.
Unknown at this time, excuse me.
Detective, along with Cognizant, it was a different time then. People don't necessarily work from home, but were they working in the same building, or were they consulting, or what?
They were
was there physical
working in the same
interaction?
building.
Okay.
Is that office in Maple Shade? Is that why they were living in that apartment complex?
No, it's not. It's in Philadelphia.
So it's unclear how he got into the apartment at this point.
It's unclear, correct.
They worked together in Philadelphia, he didn't drive, did the husband ever drive him to work? Back and forth, did they have that kind of relationship?
Nothing that we'd be willing to comment on this time. We're still looking into some of those facts.
All right, again, we thank everybody for coming out here today. It's truly appreciated, all the investment, all the interest, and again, bringing Nazir Hamid back to the United States to face justice. Thank you. Appreciate everybody today. Thank you very much.